From our studios here at Koko Mlemle in Accra. Hello, good evening, and welcome to Joy News Prime. We are live on DSTV channel 421, GoTV 125, and around the world we are on myjoyonline.com. I am Carlos Caloni.
And I am Faustina Safo. Tonight, the Accra High Court clears the way for Daddy Lumba's funeral to proceed after the applicants failed to pay the required 2 million Ghana cedis, allowing the family to finally lay the high life legend to rest.
Also, Chief Justice orders Kwame Danso District Court shut down indefinitely following a violent mob attack that disrupted proceedings, endangered staff, and saw the police headquarters targeted.
Also tonight, U.S. assures continued collaboration with Ghana on extradition as Yoko confirms arrest of Frederick Kumi, popularly known as Abu Trika, but cautions that extraditing fugitives in the U.S. may take time.
And we'll also bring you the stories of families fighting acute leukemia, the cancer of the blood cell and bone marrow. More in Joy News special assignment titled Leukemia Last Chance Abroad, as we rally the nation to build Ghana's first bone marrow transplant center. Remember, Joy News is your home of independent, fearless, and credible journalism.
It's a good time to take a seat and please be our guest.
Well, the United States say it will continue collaborating with Ghanaian authorities to ensure extradited suspects face prosecution. This follows Iyoko's arrest of Frederick Kumi, known as Abu Trika, accused of defrauding elderly Americans of over $8 million. Iyoko released an official statement detailing the case now, which we'll put on your screen shortly. And that's the statement you have there. It reads, the Economic and Organized Crime Office and a multi-agency task force have carried out an operation which has led to the arrest of one of Ghana's notorious scammers, Frederick Kumi, a.k.a. Emmanuel Kojoba Obeng, popularly known as Abu Trika, on Thursday, 11th December 2025. The Yoko team, in an international investigation with the Federal Bureau of Investigations, FBI, the Narcotics Control Commission, NACOC, International Criminal Police Organization, Interpol, the National Investigations Bureau, NIB, together with the Cybersecurity Authority, CSA, and the Office of the Attorney General undertook this operation. Now, the operation to arrest Abu Trika follows several months of intelligence and investigations. Abu Trika was part of a criminal network that targeted elderly victims in romance scams across the United States since 2023. The criminal network used artificial intelligence software to assume false identities and form close personal relationships with victims. These victims were often elderly and engaged in romantic relationships with the perpetrators. The network gained victims' trust to obtain money and valuables, often targeting individuals through social media and online dating platforms under false pretenses. Abu Trika will subsequently be extradited to the United States of America to face criminal charges of conspiracy to commit wire fraud, money laundering, conspiracy, and a forfeiture specification, and faces up to 20 years in prison. Iyoko wishes to congratulate its local sister agencies as well as the FBI for their collaboration.
Well, if Abu Trika's extradition succeeds, he will be the 10th Ghanaian sent to the U.S. to face criminal charges. The case has sparked public petitions, including one by U.S.-based Ghanaian professor Kweku Asare, calling for the extradition of the former finance minister Ken Ofori-Atta, who faces charges in Ghana but is currently in the U.S. Head of our diplomatic desk here, Joy News, Blessed Sugar, raised these concerns at a media roundtable held at the U.S. Embassy here in Accra.
In his first visit to Ghana after assuming his tour of duty as Deputy Assistant Secretary for West Africa, William B. Stevens joined the U.S. Embassy's media roundtable here in Accra that sought to discuss emerging issues of mutual importance to the American and Ghanaian people. A pending question on the table was about the increasing cases of romance fraud, with the U.S. government extraditing 9 individuals this year alone.
This year, since President Mahama took office, obviously he took office at the beginning of the year, Ghana has extradited 9 individuals to the United States. Talking about who some of these people are, and there's public announcements about this. Most of them have been involved in cyber crime, or what we call elder crime, right? These people can victimize anyone, and maybe they have, we don't know. But these are the kinds of people who, obviously, if proven in court, they should be in prison. They shouldn't be out being able to take advantage of particularly older people, although any of us, I think, obviously would be horrified at the idea of being a victim of this kind of crime.
The special prosecutor, Kisi Ejabing, under intense pressure last Thursday, commenced a trial in absentia for former Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta, who is away in the U.S. Questions are emerging as to whether or not the U.S. will be open to receiving any official requests from the government of Ghana.
We are always open to receiving extradition requests. That is absolutely a firm part of any good bilateral relationship. It's certainly ours. The process of evaluating an extradition request is on the American side is very well established, and it is not generally very quick. And so we receive a request. It goes through the various mechanisms that we have to undertake. But the door is always open for those requests. There's no individual case that can be prejudged because U.S. judges make decisions on this.
For his part, Assistant Secretary William B. Stevens says the U.S. will continue its cooperation with the government of Ghana in promoting its mutual interests and ensuring that Ghana holds its place as the beacon of democracy in the West Africa sub-region.
So we're grateful for that. And as we look at this region, you live in a tough neighborhood. So I cover all of West Africa. I have traveled throughout the Sahel, and we applaud Ghana's effort to rebuild relations with the countries of the AES. And so we, as the United States, are trying to find ways that we can work through our African partners to bring an African solution to those question sets.
Well, let's explore this further here on Joy News Prime. Fraud prevention expert Richard Kumado joins us now with more. We appreciate your time here on Joy News Prime. We're just seeing the number of individuals extradited, really, for crimes relating to romance scam involving Ghanaians spike. How do we deal with this?
One, we need to cross-border intelligence sharing is one, dialogue is two, and diplomatic channels to relieve some of these extradition protocols that could be cumbersome sometimes is three. But above all, interagency collaborations among the investigation agencies in Ghana. That is the Cybersecurity Authority, the BNI, YOCO, the CID block, and their collaborators like Interpol and the FBI has really helped. And if they can intensify in that regard, I believe they will make a headway in many of the complex cases that will come to their desks.
Let's flip the coin. Some people say Ghana is really not getting its side of the bargain, really, when it comes to some of this extradition processes. We've been, aiding the U.S. to get the individuals involved in some of these crimes, but we need our finance minister, former finance minister, in the country. What's your thoughts on that?
I think it's a fight between the Office of the Special Prosecutor and Attorney General Department. If they can resolve that, we will make a headway. If this investigation is being handled by the police, it will rather make the work a little bit more easier. If it's being handled by YOCO or the BNI, they have established the common lines for asking for extraditions for many of these lines, many of these countries in this particular case. The Office of the Special Prosecutor, the way you crafted it and the way you are operationalizing it, makes life a little bit difficult for the special office in the first place. Then their relationship with the Attorney General is not very good. So it makes it very difficult for them to put their heads together to be able to put in some of these requests to make sure that Ghanaians, not specific people, but Ghanaians in general, who they will want to be extradited to Ghana is becoming a bit more difficult for them. They will need to look at the law, they will need to look at the operational side of things, and they will need to look at how to work together in the interest of the state and not personal egos.
Thank you so much, Richard Komodo, for your time here on Joy News Prime.
Well, away from that, the Accra High Court today became the unlikely stage for a bitter family drama surrounding the funeral of Ghana's beloved highlight legend, Daddy Lumba. The late musician's maternal family and the family head, Kofi Owusu, have been locked in a heated dispute over who should lead the funeral arrangement and money the funds raised for the occasion. The court initially granted an injunction restraining Kofi Owusu from organizing the funeral, but later ruled that the burial could proceed if the applicant failed to pay 2 million Ghana cedis to cover funeral expenses. Fatal Bayaga has the rest of the story.
There has been a very interesting legal tussle in court today in relation to Daddy Lumba's funeral arrangements. 5 individuals who claim to be from the maternal family of the late musician came to court seeking the powers of the court to injunct the funeral arrangement scheduled for tomorrow. The court listened to their arguments. In fact, in that application, they challenged the legitimacy of the family head to spearhead this particular funeral arrangement. The court listened to their arguments and upheld the application, placing an injunction on the funeral arrangement. Lawyer for the maternal family, Thomas Eshen, expressed excitement following that particular earlier decision.
Simply is that the funeral has been injuncted, and so the all arrangements must cease. So it's a call for unity.
So does that mean that tomorrow's arrangements would have to be halted?
Exactly so. And this is the order of the court of the land. Yes, and any disobedience of the order will amount to contempt.
But to their surprise, the court made a review, recalled the lawyers of the various parties back to the court, and in this particular review the court listened to the arguments of the first defendant who sought to say that they had made a lot of commitments in terms of the funeral arrangements and they would want the court to reverse this particular decision. The presiding judge listened to their argument and therefore placed a 2 million Ghana cedis undertaking on the plaintiffs, asking them to pay this money before 2 p.m. Today. But after 2 p.m. they were unable to pay this particular money, and the court therefore lifted the injunction allowing for the funeral process to commence tomorrow. Lead counsel for the first defendant, Dominic Kojo Osei, said that this particular decision is a huge relief for the family and funds.
Well, it is not just a relief to me, it is a relief for the fans, it's a relief for the family, it's for the children, because it is no good that at this time, if your father is deceased, there's a lot of litigation still hovering around him.
Reporting for Joy News from the court complex here in Accra, I'm Fatal Bayaga.
Well, let me bring in the lead lawyer for the first defendant, Dominic Kojo Osei. We just heard him there. Now, I'm just wondering the specific reasoning that went into this ruling by the court today.
Yes, good evening to you and good evening to your host. What transpired in court is very simple. Injunctions applications are like bail. When you go in for such an application, you should be prepared to meet the conditions that the court has attached to it. The court, understanding that this application came in very late, 2 days to the funeral, felt and understood our position that the first defendant has expended a lot of money or incurred a lot of money up to this point, and there is a need for the applicant to reimburse him some of these costs. It is only fair at this point. So we brought that to the attention of the court, and the court agreed with us and reviewed its decision. But this is also to bring to your viewers' attention that during the hearing of the substantive injunction, the plaintiff on record stated that they were willing to pay for any cost that we have incurred. They are willing to compensate us. So we ask them to put their money where they are worth. And we prayed the court for a 5 million bond and seemed to be paid by 1 p.m. But the court, after hearing their submission, agreed to 2 million and extended the time by an hour for them to meet that condition, which they woefully failed. That was what transpired, my sister.
Thank you so much. Dominic Kojo says lead lawyer for the first defendant.
Well, let's now take you to Kumasi and speak to Clinton Yeboah, who is actually on the funeral grounds. Clinton, what is happening on the ground as you speak?
And a positive manner, of course, for supporters of Lumba who are excited that the confusion now is over and now they have to go ahead to hold the funeral tomorrow. What I've been hearing them say is that they have been waiting for this moment for a very long time. In fact, they said that they were very distraught when the news broke in that they could not hold the funeral. But upon the second court order, which granted the permission to hold the funeral, they are very much ready to participate fully in the funeral right tomorrow. Let me just engage some of the supporters here. In fact, there are thousands, there are hundreds of dead Lumba supporters who have come to gauge the situation currently at the preparation grounds. I'll speak to one of the supporters. But the name is Mr. What is the said here, Lucy Cassan, when you had the pastor of China, a year never was. Again, they say a lie. Try and make that I only tell who is that just like any pastor. Now, the man is sitting down there, the other Lumba, you get done. They worship Lumba, you have put to a man. What you have done it by the past year. They are young,
Away from that, the Chief Justice has ordered the immediate closure of the Kwame Danso District Court after a violent mob attacked the court on Wednesday, disrupting proceedings and endangered judicial staff. The directive follows ongoing investigations into the unrest, which also saw the police headquarters targeted. Calm has since been restored, we know, based on our checks on the grounds, but authorities say the court will remain closed until further notice. About 100 irate youths stormed the district court, vandalized properties, assaulted complainants, and freed 2 accused persons. Well, let's explore this further. Join me now is Abdullah Yakubu. He's General Secretary of the Judicial Service Staff Association. We appreciate your time. Based on the briefing you received, what actually led to this attack by the mob?
Okay, thank you very much for having me, and good evening to you and your listeners. So what brought about the attack was the case that was pending before the district court. It was a criminal case involving the 3 accused persons. The mob, the 2 accused persons are part of the mob group that attacked the court. And the substantive case was pending before the court comes from an earlier attack on Yase Bato community around the same area. The community was attacked by the Miller mob or their kinsmen who had also attacked the community. And from the facts of the case, they had burnt down 13 thatch houses belonging to the Fulani herdsmen, who then reported the matter to the police sometime a month ago. So the police had to do their investigation and arrested the ringleaders of the group, who were the 3 suspects. Unfortunately, 2 of them were arrested among the leaders of the group. So they were brought to court to stand trial, but the group still felt that despite what had happened at the community a month ago, their persons should not stand trial in court. So they massed up at the police station to, chant some kind of violent songs in protest against the prosecution of their persons. Unfortunately, at that time, the 2 persons were already in court. The case was called and the prosecution made a prayer for the accused persons to be remanded so that they could continue with their investigation to get the 3rd accused person who was at large and then unravel other facts surrounding the case. As soon as the two persons were remanded into police custody, the information got to their colleagues at the police station, who marched straight to the court premises and then invaded the court.
Okay.
You could see a court officer running for his life at that time. So what really angered them was just the remand that was being ordered by the court against two of the colleagues who had earlier on engaged in an activity that was unlawful. And
during this mob attack, was any member of staff actually injured in the process?
I will say it was cause intervention that nobody was injured, because you could see that the staff who was running for his, they attempted to grab him, and when they had succeeded in grabbing him, only God knows what would have happened. I have spoken to staff of the court, the registrar and the magistrate of the court. They have to take cover in their offices and lock up the office. Even with that, they still use cement blocks to try to break the doors and get access to the magistrate and the staff. It took an intervention from Matebubu police to come and rescue the situation. And fortunately, none of the staff have been hurt.
And then what happens to pending cases in court? Is there a timeline as to when exactly the court will be open now?
For now, there should not be any timeline as to when the court will open. The police station that should provide security for the court itself and the community has been shut down by the IGP, signaling that until calm is restored to the situation, there cannot be any timeline as to when the court will open.
Thank you so much for your time here on Journey.
Well, away from the court. Imagine watching your child die, not because treatment doesn't exist, but because it is only available abroad and far beyond the reach of many families. That is the painful reality facing Ghanaians battling acute leukemia, a cancer of the blood and bone marrow disease. Here are excerpts from Joy News' latest special assignment documentary, Leukemia, Last Chance Abroad, produced by Emmanuel Jeveno, highlighting the urgent need for a bone marrow transplant center here in Ghana.
Every year, families walk into hospitals seeking answers and walk out with a diagnosis that changes everything.
Cancer of the blood and bone marrow. I was like, leukemia. How? Why? When? It was like a very bad, terrible joke on First April.
A disease that steals the young, the strong, the hopeful.
That's my baby's last moment. Today, December 19th. My child will not die.
I can deal with a lot of things, but to see him in pain, that one will kill me.
I watched her, she took her last breath. Come on. My baby was gone.
The treatment can be quite difficult and also expensive.
The average Ghanaian, we can't afford it.
We're so broke to the point that we couldn't afford to pay our hotel bills. They sacked us from the hotel.
While some cross oceans to buy a chance to live, others run out of time, waiting, praying, begging.
When I would have turned out better if we had the facility here.
A more sustainable solution would be to have a center here in Ghana and West Africa.
Like a year, it's okay. Enough.
Leukemia, Last Chance Abroad. A Joy News special assignment documentary powered by the Leukemia Project Foundation and the Joy News Impact Makers Foundation.
Oh, quite touching. I'm looking forward to that official documentary when it will be premiering on the 15th, which is next week. Yep. You should watch it here on the Joy News channel. Carlos, I'm sure you're looking forward to it.
Sure, we're looking forward to that. And we have more after this break. Stay with us. Welcome back, and let's move to some other stories.
Well, President John Dramani Mahama has urged African leaders to push for fairer trade and value addition, as well as accountable leadership across the continent. He highlighted Africa's dependence on exporting raw materials and called for harnessing the creativity of its youth. President Mahama made these remarks at Kenya's 62nd Independence Day celebration.
The time has come for us to add value to Africa's exports. The time has come for us to claim a fairer share of our natural resource endowment. The time has come for us to provide transparent and accountable leadership. The time has come for us to unleash the creativity and energies of our young people. We must increase trade amongst ourselves, and so we commend the protocol on the African Continental Free Trade Area. We must show Pan-African solidarity with all members of the African diaspora, and that's why I wish to express the sincerest appreciation of the people of Ghana to the people of Kenya for your timely intervention in Haiti to bring relief to the long-suffering people of Haiti.
Well, away from that, the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly is rushing to relocate car dealers, mechanics, taxi operators and squatters along the Ahojo-Santasi Road to make way for its road dualization. Despite orders issued over a month ago, the stretch remains cluttered. Emmanuel Bright-Kweku reports.
On September 24, 2025, the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly announced plans to clear the way for the Santasi-Ahojo Road dualization project. The Assembly had cautioned temporary occupants on a stretch, including car dealers, mechanics, taxi operators, squatters, and other traders to vacate the premises by October 31, 2025. It's been over a month now since the notice was made, but these occupants continue to ply their trade on the demarcated spaces along the shoulders of the road.
After Christmas, they told us to vacate here after Christmas. They've even mounted stakes for mapping, but we have nowhere to go.
If they claim they will do it, we are observing them. We are of little faith for the road construction.
So this is one of the many sites that has been earmarked by the KMA for the relocation of these artisans and temporary occupants along the Ahojo-Santasi stretch. But for the time being, this has been the case of it's all under the lentil level. And in fact, the KMA makes us understand that funds to complete this project is one they are racing time against to find.
Henrietta Ifia Kunedu Abwaje is a PRO for the KMA.
The Assembly is supposed to clear the place for them, make sure the place is in shape before they go there, but we are constrained with funds. So what the Chief Executive has done is that he's gone back to central government and to the contractor who will be doing the work that this is the challenge that the Assembly is facing. So we are really hoping that as from now going, at least by January, we should be done with the preparations of these sites so that they can move there and the contractor can move in to do the work.
The project, expected to be completed within 24 months after its commencement, would ease vehicular congestion along that stretch. For Joy News, my name is Emmanuel Bright-Kweku.
The Driver and Vehicle Licensing Authority will, from January 2026, introduce new vehicle registration plates with embedded chips to improve tracking and curb fraud. The upgrade is to ensure real-time updates and prevent the registration of stolen or customs evaded vehicles. Upper West Regional Correspondent Rafiq Salam reports.
The Driver and Vehicle Licensing Authority (DVLA) has engaged stakeholders in the Upper West region regarding the rollout of new vehicle registration number plates. This is part of a nationwide initiative to modernize vehicle registration scheduled to begin in January 2026. The new plates will include radio frequency identification, RFID chips, and replacing the current aluminum plates that lack verifiable digital information. Our Power Solution Manager of DVLA, Eugene Tawier, welcomed the stakeholders to the meeting.
The primary purpose of our gathering here is to walk you through the introduction of the new vehicle registration number plate. Your unique perspective are vital to this process. We need your active support, constructive input that will be beneficial for everyone here.
The Director of Driver Training, Testing and Licensing, Kafi Semovo, at the DBLA head office, briefed the stakeholders on the new number plates and using reasons why they are introducing them.
The reason we are reforming the vehicle registration plates is one, to ensure that we have updated database of all the vehicles that have been registered in this country. Two, is also to ensure that we put in measures that will help us prevent registration of stolen and uncustomed vehicles. Three, we want to properly identify all vehicle owners, because when you buy a vehicle, you are owning a property, but you are using it in the public space. And when you are in the public space, we need to properly identify you. The other one is that, apart from the identification, it will help us also improve public safety and security. When the database is updated, it is easy for enforcement to be carried out, and it is easy for verification to be done. Above all, this will also help us conform to best practice.
Reporting for J News, Rafiq Salam. Wow.
Well, neglected tropic diseases remain one of Africa's most persistent health threats, hitting rural and impoverished communities the hardest. Ahead of the 2026 Ramsey Media Forum, the World Health Organization warns the continent may miss key global targets without urgent coordinated action. There's more in the following report.
In many rural communities across Africa, preventable diseases continue to rob families of their health and livelihoods. The most notorious, called neglected tropical diseases, NTDs, are a cluster of preventable infections most common where poverty, poor sanitation, and limited healthcare access converge. According to the WHO, these diseases still affect 1 billion people worldwide, with Africa bearing the greatest burden.
Neglected tropical diseases, they affect the poorest people in the world, and in Africa particular, they have like the face of the people that live in rural communities, in areas where they don't necessarily have the visibility.
From intestinal worms to river blindness, elephantiasis among others, these diseases continue to drive mortality and disability across the continent. But progress is real. WHO data shows a major drop in global infections, from 1.9 billion people in 1990 to 1 billion by 2021. Annual deaths have also reduced from 139,000 in 2015 to 119,000 by 2021. Interventions have expanded. By 2024, 1.5 billion people were receiving treatment supported by long-standing pharmaceutical donations and national health campaigns. 58 countries have already eliminated at least one NTD, with Togo removing 4, a global milestone.
One of our targets was that we were going to see 90% of people no longer requiring interventions between 2010 and 2030. As of today, we are in 32% of people no longer requiring interventions. That is not necessarily a very good progress, what means that by 2030 we are not going to meet the 90%. But nevertheless, it means that in 2010 we had 2 billion people, more than 2,000 million people requiring treatment against NTDs. And there has been a decrease of almost 700 million people that no longer require interventions against neglected tropical diseases, because we have been able to release them from these diseases. They are free of the disease and they no longer have to worry about the presence of these diseases.
However, the world remains far off the 2030 target of ensuring 90% of people no longer require NTD interventions. Current progress stands at just 32%, far below the ambitions set in WHO's global roadmap. Funding gaps and weak systems remain major obstacles.
Thanks to the commitment of some pharmaceutical donors, more than 25 years ago, there has been donations of medicines that have enabled us to start strategies to control and eliminate these diseases at community level.
Dr. Robelo Polo stresses that communities must take ownership of sanitation and treatment adherence. But she also places responsibility on the media, especially African journalists, to keep NTDs on the agenda and drive the accountability needed to eradicate the disease of the poorest.
Donors have to step back and use their funding catalytically to support governments, to trust governments and give the money to be really flexible with them and be requiring accountability, but not necessarily micromanaging the way the funds are utilized.
Away from that, as Ghana ramps up efforts to end gender-based violence, the Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection, Dr. Agnes Namumulate, is calling for a nationwide swift and shift in mindset, stressing that laws alone are not enough without a collective change in attitudes.
Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection, Dr. Agnes Namumulate, is urging a national shift in mindset as Ghana intensifies efforts to eliminate gender-based violence. Speaking at the National Men's Conference on Positive Masculinity to End Violence Against Women and Girls, she stressed that laws alone cannot transform society unless they are matched by a collective change in attitudes.
Harmful norms must be confronted. Silence must be broken, and all communities must stand united against all forms of gender-based violence. Laws alone cannot change society. Mindset must change.
Government called on religious institutions to rise against norms that fuel abuse and promote positive masculinity. Here's Elvis Ifuye Anchor, Presidential Envoy in charge of interfaith and ecumenical bodies, speaking on behalf of the Chief of Staff.
Communities carry enormous influence in shaping mindsets and behaviors. Our mosques, churches, traditional councils, and family clans must therefore become active platforms for positive masculinity.
Advocacy lead at Junior Shapers Africa, Ambassador Jeremiah Maunyo, urged the media to promote positive masculinity through shows, podcasts, and publications that teach children to respect others.
And of course, the media has a role to play. The mass media must propagate the agenda of positive masculinity by airing shows comprising talk shows, television series, podcasts, and more extensively, publications to that effect that teach not only boys, but also all children the importance of respecting the opposite sex. In conclusion, let not our remarks be mere rhetoric, but they must be made empirical in our lives.
Experts say teaching respect, promoting positive masculinity, and challenging harmful norms are key steps towards a safer society for everyone. For Joy News, Michelle Latte and Nancy Kumson.
Well, you're still watching Joy News Prime. We'll take a break. We'll return with Showbiz. Please stay.